Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf. And I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and of course, alongside me is probably one of the hardest working women in the ladies' profession today, and that would be LPGA professional Cindy Miller. Cindy, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing well. Cindy, we were just talking a few minutes ago about Thanksgiving and just how we enjoyed having a nice little break and nice holiday, and I was mentioning that I as a lot of people do, got a little stuffed over the holiday. How was your Thanksgiving?
I did the same thing. I love apple pie with crumblies on top, and I made a couple of those, and I tried not to eat as much as I wanted to, but it's hard
it doesn't
to
work
reframe.
That way. Yeah, I know, it doesn't work that way. For some reason, once the food smell starts to circulate around the house, it's pretty hard to contain yourself. But anyways, I'm glad you had a great time. And obviously, for those of you that don't know, Cindy, of course, lives up in the Northeast United States in the Buffalo area. And you guys had a lot of snow there in recent times. How interesting was that?
It was the snowblower broke.
Oh.
So that's the one time when you say, wow, am I so glad that I made a son 27 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm sure his muscles. Yeah, I'm sure his muscles got a good workout during that. It was unbelievable. I mean, just incredible. I know Buffalo, obviously, being from Canada, just a few miles north of you originally, and obviously we get our fair share of snow. But for some reason, Buffalo's just in that snow belt area, and always even got more than what we normally did. But this was unusual, wasn't it? Though, really, what you got?
The most snow they've ever had in 48 hours, ever.
Wow. Yeah. And you actually put a picture, if I'm not mistaken, up. I'm not sure if it was on Instagram or Facebook. I think it was you that you opened your door, and it was nothing but a white shield blocking the door. That's incredible.
No, that wasn't me. That was somebody
else.
Well,
somebody. I don't know who it was, but somebody had that up there, and it was all the way up to the top. It was literally snow packed it against their door. Unbelievable.
Well, what's funny is our son's girlfriend Sarah. They were outside shoveling the sidewalk, and it was like 3 feet, 4 feet on both sides of her. So she sat in the middle of the sidewalk. She posted on Instagram, and Yahoo contacted her and asked if they could use the picture in this video they made, and they did use it.
Wow. Yeah. Just unbelievable. And I mean, a lot of people don't understand, especially those living down here in the south that don't get very much, if any, snow. Occasionally a little flurry here and there, but usually much further south of Atlanta, you don't get a lot down here. And the only ones that really can relate are, of course, the snowbirds that come here every winter. But it was just an unbelievable amount of snow, and as you said, in such a short period of time. But anyways, we're here to talk about golf today, and let me just remind everybody before we continue on. Of course, we're live every Tuesday morning, unless we otherwise indicate, here at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on blogtalkradio.com. And you just simply, to get to the program, you can either type in blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or when you get to the blogtalkradio.com website, you can just type up in the search key Women of Golf, and I'll get you there as well. And don't forget, we are live every Tuesday mornings, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. But for some reason, if you're not able to join us at that time, by all means, after the programs, you can certainly go and visit that page. And all of the programs, of course, get auto-recorded, so you can certainly visit them. You won't be able to listen to us live, and you won't be able to certainly chime in if you wish during the broadcast, but nevertheless, we appreciate you going there and listening anyways. And also, if you ever have any comments or questions about the program and you want to email the show, you can do so at send your questions or comments to womenofgolf@gmail.com, or if you want to get in touch with either Cindy or I, during the live broadcast, you can certainly do so by calling in at area code 347-945-5855. That's 347-945-5855, excuse me. And also, if you want to get in touch with either Cindy or myself, you can reach me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com or Cindy at cindy@cindymillergolf.com if you're interested. .com. Boy, I'm tongue-tied this morning. Got a great show. Yeah, it never fails. That's what happens when you talk a lot. You get tongue-tied here. But we appreciate you joining us this morning, and we got some great guests. A first-timer here on the program, Alison Curdt, and she's a master teacher professional and also a player on the LPGA and has played in a number of events. And she's going to talk about a little bit about that here shortly. She'll be on in just a few moments. And, of course, joining us a little bit later in the broadcast is certainly a favorite of ours who's been on here a few times now, Jane Blalock, of course, CEO of Legends Tour. And she's going to come on and talk a little bit about what's going to be coming up for 2015. So you want to make sure you stick around for that as well. And we always appreciate Jane's input into the program, and we thank her, of course, very much for her support. But let me just tell you a little bit while we're waiting for Alison to chime in. Let me just tell you, Cindy, a little bit about her. And those listening to the program. She's a PGA Master Professional and also an LPGA Class A Professional. She's TPI certified, and she's also a featured Swing Fix instructor with the Golf Channel. She's also a top 50 golf instructor with the U.S. Kids Golf. I had some honorable mentions there. She was the 2012 LPGA Western Teacher of the Year and also was nominated multiple times by Golf Digest for the Best Young Instructor and Best in her state, which is California, of course. And as I mentioned, of course, she's a master professional and instructor. But she also has, in addition, she has completed and got her master's degree in clinical psychology with an emphasis in marriage and family therapy from Pepperdine University. So she's got all aspects of it. She's not only a great instructor, but she's got the psychology degree as well, and she's implemented that a lot with her golf instruction and so forth, and I'm sure with her play. So she's going to talk a little bit about that when she comes on as well. But really a great girl, and she actually reached out, Cindy, as I mentioned to you off air, just shortly after our last broadcast. She reached out and really liked the show and wanted to come on and share some of her thoughts and ideas and that with our audience. So we really appreciate that.
That's great. She sounds like a real winner.
Yeah, and she's got over 25 years of golf competition background and played with actually a full scholarship at Florida State and University, and she earned, as I say, her degrees in psychology and professional golf management while she was there, and turned professional in 2004, and moved down to Palm Springs to begin her teaching and professional playing career, and worked at some of the top resorts, and really just a great, well-rounded young lady, and looking forward to having her on the program this morning. But she should be here in just a few moments, and but in the meantime, we'll just. Cindy, one of the interesting things is there's so much changing now in the golf business. I think that one of the things that, people are branching out. It's not just about golf instruction anymore. There's so much emphasis on the mental side of things, and I know you've talked extensively about that, and I know that you implement. Just tell us a little bit about some of the changes that you've had to make in recent years just to sort of keep up with things.
I don't think it's so much to try to keep up with things. I think it's basically how can you help your students.
Yeah.
Standing on a range hitting balls is, you have to work on the mechanical side, but there's a control tower that's telling the body what to do, and unless you are aware of what that's thinking, feeling, and visualizing, then you're not going to be all that you can be. So to really help a student, you must be student-centered, and you must be very aware of all the facets that are included in being able to perform and play golf to the best of your ability. So unless you are really, it would depend on the student. So let's say somebody just comes in and wants to just hit the ball a little bit better. I would call that, a half-hour intro lesson. They would be at the bottom of the pyramid, just want to have fun and go out and have a good time, maybe enjoy the outdoors. The next step up would be, I'd like to work on this and try to get a little better. They might take a package of lessons. The next step up might be, I'd like to play in a league. I want to play in my Class D club championship. that would be another step up, that they would have to become more aware. You know, it would be like having going to the community college, getting a four-year degree, getting a master's, and getting a PhD. So there's very few people that will go to the top of the pyramid. On the other hand, if you're going to be a teacher and try to help these people, you need to define what type of teacher you want to be. So because I try to compete at the highest level of my ability, and clearly Allison does as well. She's qualified to play in a couple of LPGA championships, going to play in the KPMG championship next year at Westchester. So for us to be able to compete at the highest level, you have to be willing to look in the mirror. And the better you know yourself, the better you can play.
Yep.
Well, the better you learn to know yourself, the more you have to be able to help your students. So I don't think it's not, do we have to do this? We choose to do this.
Right.
So, you know,
exactly.
If you choose to do that, then you will be seeking what is out there. You know, what am I able to do for myself and my students? So, I just think it's a package deal, you know, and you have to define what type of teacher you want to be and what your best student is.
Right, exactly.
You know, once you do that, then you say, okay, if you only want to teach these type people, then this is what you should do. Yeah,
exactly.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, and great way to put it. And I see that Allison's here on, so let's bring her on and let's talk a little golf with Allison Curdt. Good morning, Allison, and welcome to the Women of Golf.
Hi, Ted. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You're here also with Cindy Miller, a fellow LPGA professional.
Good morning, Allison.
Cindy, how are you? Hi,
Great.
Cindy.
Great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and I know it's a little early. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, of course, Allison's in California, so she's a little bit earlier than us. So we appreciate you getting up early and sharing your time with us. You're, I think, is it 3 hours behind?
Yeah, it's about 6:10 this morning. But you know what? Once you're a golfer, I think the early rising is just in your blood. So.
So I take that back then, Allison. That's, you know, you need to get up early anyways if you want to be a good golfer, right? So, but thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. I've already done the intro. Yeah, I've already done an intro to our audience, so they're well informed of a little bit about your background and that. But I know that there were some specific things that you want to talk about this morning, so let's kind of just jump right into it. Obviously, I mentioned that you've got a clinical psychology background in golf instruction, and obviously marriage and family therapist as well. You're a registered intern. How has having that background in psychology helped in teaching others?
Well, I think it has allowed me to look at my students in a different way and be able to provide different tools to teach them through. One of the reasons that I decided to get involved in clinical psychology and continue that study is I realized that through the course of my own play and my own learning experiences that golf is much more about physicality, and there's so much emotion tied up into it, and us as human beings carry so much with us day to day that if I as a teacher was able to help or flush through a lot of that baggage, if you will, or a lot of that emotion, then I would be a more effective teacher for my students. And so in that process of learning about golf is more than just hitting a ball. I mean, we're a people. There's emotions, there's anxiety, there's sometimes depression, there's conflicts with our caddies or with our parents. I wanted to be able to work through that as well and be able to help my students flush through a lot of that so that their learning experience was much more powerful.
Right, and you know, that is so important. Cindy was just mentioning that as well. You know, there is just so much that's changed, you know, especially in golf, and it's not just the instructional side. Obviously, we have to keep brushed up on some of the latest things going on there, but there's so much more and such a bigger component now to really helping your students. It's not just about hitting the ball well, but it's also how to handle themselves while they're out in the golf course, and that's actually more often than not a bigger part of the anxieties and things that you just mentioned that can often cripple, especially the higher handicappers out there. And obviously you've found a niche, if you will, and obviously have a skill and a talent for the game itself, but you've also recognized that you need to bring that component as well.
Certainly. You're 100% right. It isn't just for the, most elite player or for tour players that they need to work on their mental game. This is for everybody. I mean, we all have issues going on in our lives. We all have trouble managing our anxiety or our emotions when we're under some pressure. And, what 20 to 25 handicapper doesn't feel pressure when they stand up on the first tee and they're worried about just getting the ball in the fairway in front of their buddies. And that's all skills that can be learned and worked through and managed to ultimately improve their golf game.
Yeah, and that's a crucial thing, I think, this day and age. Just with the way society has gone and some of the anxieties that people are carrying around with them, I think that's something that every industry, not just the golf industry, but I think everybody is starting to recognize that it's not just a matter of having the physical skills any longer. It's also having the mental strength and the mental toughness. And the only way really to get that is to work with instructors such as yourselves and many of them out there now that are specializing in helping their students overcome that. I want to also ask about, because obviously you're a competitor as well still. You're young and like to get out there and play with some of the others. You've obviously played in some of the LPGA majors in recent years, and that's earned you, as Cindy had pointed out earlier, a spot in next year's KPMG Women's Championship. How do you balance your playing competitively and the teaching? How do you find balance between keeping at the top of your game and also being able to teach?
Well, the balance comes from being able to decide what I really want to include in my life. If I didn't want to be a player, if I didn't want to have the competition background, then I wouldn't put as much priority to practicing, or I wouldn't direct my attention to having that just kind of included in my repertoire. But playing is really important to me, and so I make sure that I find time, and finding time for doing something that you enjoy really isn't all that hard. I find that when people are trying to do something that they don't really enjoy, such as, working out or going to the gym, then there's all the excuses that really start to cascade with that. But finding time to practice and to play and to compete is incredibly easy because I love doing it. So balancing it, for me, is pretty easy. It's two of my number one passions that I have to divide, and when I have lessons, all my passion is directed towards that. When it's time to devote a little attention to me and to practice, pretty easy to do so as well. So balancing, I find, is tougher when it's things that we don't want to do, but balancing with things that we want to do and that we enjoy doing is a little bit more easier.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you're also, too, I mentioned you're a PGA Master professional. You've got that credential, and actually 10th in the history of instruction. How does it feel to not only be the youngest, but one of 10 female instructors to obtain that Master certification?
Yeah, pretty sacred for me. It was such a huge accomplishment. And when I learned how few women professionals went through the process, I was quite shocked to know that there's so few numbers of people that continue their education down that path. So to feel that I'm a part of this small elite group is really my pride and joy, particularly with the PGA. My goal moving forward is to be the first professional to be a joint PGA Master and LPGA Master professional. Mm-hmm. So I have to wait a couple of more years to get some tenure under my belt before I can begin the LPGA Master professional. And they have some requirements as far as years of membership. So I'm looking forward to do that. But what a special group to be a part of for 10 women in our history that went down the instruction path for PGA Master professional. It's really cool to be a part of.
And you obviously
awesome.
Yeah, and you've actually done it at such a young age as well. I'm not going to ask your age, but because I know that's taboo to ever ask a woman her age, so I won't do that. But obviously I know that you're young, but that's an accomplishment in itself. I mean, that's something that you would sort of anticipate somebody doing a little bit later on. Cindy, I wanted to ask you something just to backtrack just very quickly, because obviously those of you that have been following the program know that Cindy not only is a great instructor, but also a great player playing on the Legends Tour now. Do you feel the same way as Alison was just mentioning about that, because it is something you're sort of passionate about, it's an actually easy transition from player to teacher? Is it the same for you? Do you have that same feeling?
Absolutely. It just depends on what you want out of life. And playing for me is my fun time. It's almost like a recreational adventure. I love fixing the puzzle of me. It's something that I put on my what do I want to do and be and have in my life. And so working on myself, whether I continue to compete, is something that I'm very, very passionate about. So absolutely, it's not that hard. I mean, there's times when you just like, oh, I just don't feel like getting out there and practicing. But on the other hand, if you make it one of your outcome goals, that I really want to compete and play in so many tournaments, I mean, you have to have a number. You have to be able to measure it, and that will help you make mental decisions on the days you don't feel like doing something. Do you agree, Allison?
Absolutely, 100%. I love how you phrased it. I like to work on the puzzle of me because that really resonates with me. And, yeah, there's days when you don't really want to practice, but you don't force yourself to practice either. You practice in the ways that you feel comfortable with. If there's a day where I'm just like, not feeling like hitting range balls today, then I know that's a cue for me that it's a short game day, or it's a day to go out and play, 9 holes and work on the game on the course. So I'll find that there are definitely some preferences for when and where I want to practice, but I keep it within what's enjoyable to my experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? Tell us, what do you want your students to get from their experience of with working with you?
I've had this motto with me that I've carried with me for the past couple of years, and I really feel that it's true. Golf is simple. People make it hard. And I want to be able to help them make the game easier for themselves. I'm a big follower of the LPGA teaching and coaching model, where it's a student-centered approach. And so when students come to me, I want them to feel like, wow, golf instruction wasn't complicated. This game isn't really all that hard. Life sometimes isn't all that difficult, but we tend to make it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be on occasion. And so when they walk away from a lesson with me, I want them to feel enlightened that this is something that everyone can do and everyone can enjoy it all within their own means.
Yeah, and that's something too that as I'm listening to both of you here, because you are both playing in a competitive field, but also you're both instructors. There's certainly, I guess, advantages in a way in your instructional end, and let me just clarify this, and then I want both of you to sort of chime in a little bit. Allison, I'll let you go first, of course, being our guest, but obviously you're going to go out and you're going to play in a competitive round. Not every round is going to go perfect, so you're going to have some ups and downs and pitfalls and things like that. Are you able to take that experience out on the course, both good and bad, and then sort of transfer that back into your teaching when you're working with your students, saying, hey, I was playing in such and such tournament last week, and here's some things that I struggled with. We're going to work on that with you today to help you. Oh, this is how I overcame it. Do you find that happens a lot in your process?
100%. I think as instructors, we do take our past experiences of successes and failures and just experiences in general and utilize that through our teaching. I think what's exciting for my students currently is that they see that I'm still playing. So a lot of that information or that story to relate to them is very current compared to an instructor who potentially doesn't play or still compete as much as they used to. And so, I can relate some of my tournament experiences and say, hey, last week when I was competing at the TNCP National Tournament, this is what happened and this is what I see in your game. So it allows us to get on the same playing field and relating to experiences in a way, and I definitely utilize my own experiences through my teaching, 100%.
And what about what you get from your students? Obviously, every instructor that I've spoken to, I've talked about this on another show that I do on Thursday evenings, Golf Talk Live, and we haven't really gotten into it here, but it's something that I wanted to maybe ask some of the instructors that we do get on here. What are some of the things that you learn from your students?
I definitely see a wide range of coping with emotions. And so what I see as an observer is what's effective and what's not effective for certain types of people. And so as I'm still working on my licensing for psychotherapy, I think it's helpful for me to be an observer of many different types of people, many different types of coping skills, many different ways of handling situations when it comes to through the athletic lens. And so what I get from them is a lot of ideas, a lot of different techniques that I can use with other clients and other students.
Right. And Cindy, I know you have the same, probably a similar answer as well. Do you feel kind of the same thing, that there's certain things that you've gotten from your students?
Absolutely, definitely. Alison, let me ask you a question. Do you still do counseling?
Yes, I'm currently in the midst of it. So I call it my daytime and my nighttime job. So my daytime job is golf, and my nighttime job is psychotherapy. And for becoming a psychologist or a psychotherapist, there's a pretty long process of accruing hours for licensure, for state licensure. And so I am right in the middle of earning those hours to sit for my state exam.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I have to ask you a question. What's the burn? How come you've got such motivation to accomplish all these great things? What's the thing that gets you up in the morning?
Yeah, what gets me up in the morning is I love how you put it again, once again, that puzzle of ourselves. And so I think that these are just avenues that I work through in order to sort of figure out the puzzle of golf, the puzzle of me, how I fit in golf. And so my work with other people through golf and through psychology, in a way, sort of helps me figure out this big puzzle of life. And I think that's what gets me up every day to continue to do what I do. I love helping people. I love being of influence. I love being a change agent, so an influencer of change in other people. And that's what really drives me to continue to educate and to, build my business and build my brand.
Alison, let me ask you just to sort of expand on that a little bit, because that's kind of really an interesting thing that Cindy was asking. How do you, because obviously not everybody has that. Everybody's different. We all know that. Some people are able to sort of get up and motivate themselves in that, and there's a lot of people, obviously, they're not. Is it possible to sort of through re-education to help people to sort of change and do what both you and Cindy are doing? I'm not talking about the golf here. I'm talking about just from a personal standpoint, but sort of working on the puzzle of me, as you both have put it. Is it possible that everybody can have that, or is there just some people that are just not going to be that way? And you can certainly improve things, but they're just not going to be. Some people are just sort of born with that instinct, if you will. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. I would like to say that if I had to generalize here, that everyone has the ability and the capability to be able to change. Some people just don't want to. And for those that do want to, or there is a need that is great enough for them to change, then I think there's some room to do so. For those that don't place priority on it or don't feel the need to because everything just works as status quo, and that's fine, that's great. That's a function of their life, and they might be happy with that. But I think ultimately people don't change until they want to change. There's a kind of a joke that we say as therapists: how many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? And we'll say none. The light bulb has to want to change itself. And so that really kind of carries over into people as well. People don't want to change, or people can't change unless they want to.
Yeah, right, exactly. Alison, let me just get you to share with us here one last thought. Obviously, there was a time when you actually had to make some changes, albeit temporary, but you basically gave up golf back in 2006. You had certainly a devastating loss. Your home had burnt down. How were you able to rekindle the passion for what you're doing now after such a difficult time?
Well, it was really an interesting experience for me to go through. It was the cleanest slate that I could have ever received. I mean, when everything is taken away from you and you have left with just the clothes that you're wearing on your back, literally, you can't get much cleaner or cleansing than that. And it really, without having any golf clubs, without having anything from college, having no trophies as a reminder of any sort of successes, it was really kind of a depressing state and period of time for me where I gave up golf. I didn't do anything in the golf field. I think I was a bartender, maybe washed some dishes, and just really was lost. But one thing I think about golfers that it's in their blood, and it's bound to come back. And probably about no more than a year later, probably about a year and a half later, did the bug start to come back for me. Like, I have to have a club in my hands. I'm meant to be outdoors. I got to get my sunlight in. And it really just started to come from within. And then my path just became a lot clearer for me to start to follow. I'm going to get into this field. I'm going to start teaching. I'm going to add the psychology component. So everything fell into place as it was meant to be, sort of like a plan was laid out for me, if you will.
Right.
But I question, too, whether that would have happened without that experience in my life. So I'm actually grateful that cleansing sort of happened for me.
Well, from that aspect, I certainly agree, but more importantly, we're certainly grateful that you made it through and you weren't hurt, of course, and that's obviously the most important thing, that you're here to share this with us. And I agree with you, Alison. I think, and I'm sure Cindy would concur. I think sometimes in life we all get faced with some sort of a challenge, some maybe more challenging than others, as in your case. But I think sometimes we have to take a step back and really appreciate what it is that we have been given, the gift that really we've all been given. And sometimes it takes a life-changing situation such as yours to really open our eyes and say, you know what, this is something that I think I want to do with my life, in a direction I want to go. And sometimes it doesn't always come clear early on, and it takes a tragedy like that to sort of get that spark going. And it sounds like that's what's happened with you. And again, we're certainly grateful that that it was just property that was lost and not yourself, and we're certainly grateful for that. But Alison, if you had some closing thoughts that you want to share with our audience, we appreciate you spending the time with us. Tell us a little bit. Obviously, you have gone out on your own now with Alison Curdt Golf. Maybe share some thoughts about that and how people can get a hold of you if they're interested.
Certainly, yes. So I have decided to leave the employed world of golf professionals and focus mainly on teaching. And so I've actually just landed a brand new place, which I started at yesterday, Wood Ranch Golf Club in Simi Valley. So it's open to members and non-members as well for golf instruction with myself. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to be able to have the freedom to include all the components that I want to include in my golf instruction. So the programming, the psychology, the mental peak performance stuff on the golf course. So a lot of fun stuff that I'm able to really incorporate in my business. I'm really thrilled about that. So people who are interested in connecting with me can head to my website, AlisonCurrtGolf.com. All my contact information, Facebooks and Twitters are all linked up to there as well. I'm also a featured instructor on Golf Channel Swing Fix. So for those people who are not in California who wish to get an online lesson, can just click on the Golf Channel logo and we'll be able to get an online lesson with me as well. So really excited about this new venue that I'll be working at and looking forward to calling it my new home.
Fantastic. And obviously you're going to be doing a little playing next year, as Cindy had mentioned, the 2015 KPMG Women's Championship. What about some other playing for 2015?
Well, I'd have to say one of the biggest tournaments of the year is coming up next week, and that is the LPGA Teaching and Club Pro Team Championship. So that's where us players get an opportunity to pair up with our buddies, haggle each other, and get out there and play in a team environment. So that's happening next week. But prior to that, nothing heading up early next year, just a lot of LPGA and PGA teaching events in preparation for that KPMG Women's Championship.
Fantastic. Well, super. Well, Alison, Cindy and I want to certainly thank you for joining us this morning, and we wish that we could spend a little bit longer with you, but unfortunately we have to move on, but we'll definitely have you back in the future. But we want to thank you for taking this time and sharing some of your thoughts and your background with us here on the program.
And best
Thank
of luck
you
to
so
you
much.
in your new endeavor. You're doing great things. Keep it up.
Thanks, Cindy. I appreciate it. Ted, it was great talking to you. Thanks for having me both on the show, and I really, really appreciate it.
Not a problem. You take care,
welcome.
and thanks for getting up early and joining us. We know it's early out there, but have a great day. Hopefully it's nice and sunny out there, and just keep doing, as Cindy said, the great things that you're doing.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Alison.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Alison Curdt joining us from California this morning. What a great lady, Cindy. You know, she's just full of a lot of energy and just a lot of great things that she's looking to do with her future, and very, very excited when I hear somebody that has that sort of passion in their voice.
She's truly motivated. That's super. She's going to help a lot of people.
And exactly. And another lady, of course, who really needs no motivation and just so many accolades that there's just too many to mention off, but we've had her on the show before. And, of course, she's the CEO of the LPGA Golf Clinics for Women and also of the Legends Tour. Let's welcome back Jane Blalock.
Thank you. It's good to be on the show again.
Yeah, I think this is, third or fourth time you've been on now.
Oh, I hope I'm not overstaying my welcome.
No, we would have you on every week if you wanted. Glad to have you on. Cindy, why don't you take charge of this one?
So how was your Thanksgiving?
It was wonderful. I actually spent it down in Florida. You know, I'm from New Hampshire. I usually spend it with my family up in Portsmouth, but everyone was away, so I took advantage of that, and spending a few days down near where we just had our tournament, Cindy, down at the Seagate Country Club. I'm happy to say I'm working on my game because it needs it, but also took the time to have a few meetings to make sure our Walgreens tournament is bigger and better than ever next year.
Perfect. I have to ask you a question. I'm looking through your bio here of all the great things you are doing and have done, of which, highly successful 18-year career on the LPGA Tour. You've amassed 27 LPGA titles, 2 World Championships, 2 Triple Crowns, set the record for most consecutive cuts made in all of golf at 299, which is amazing. But I have to ask you about your book, The Guts to Win.
Oh, yes.
Because I've never seen that. I should read that.
Well, I just may have a copy somewhere that I'll share with you.
I would love to read that.
2 copies.
I had some fun. I had some fun working on that, and the cover is very amusing because I look at it and it shows me in the pigtails and the short shorts, so I can't deny those anymore. And it's got that gritty look, which I guess that's why I made 299 cuts, because I look at that face and I go, oh, that would have scared me too. But it covered a number of topics. It was the state of the LPGA then, and it really was an instruction base because that's not what I do. I just play the game, and it's, what it was like playing under pressure. Just a number of human interest stories.
Wow, that sounds great. Where can you get that? It's available now?
It was written, I think probably would have to go on eBay.
Okay.
It's definitely out of print. I said I just happened to have a couple of copies. It was written back in the late 70s.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit dated. It's a collector's item.
Good.
Well, that's good. I would love to have a copy of that, Jane.
Well, let's see if I can find some.
I'm going to change the subject here. Next year, you have a big anniversary coming up for the LPGA Golf Clinics for Women.
We do, Cindy. It's next year's our 25th anniversary of the LPGA clinics. It's hard to believe that we started the clinics that long ago. We were definitely ahead of our time. Probably the first, not probably, but definitely the first entity to create a program that would encourage women to learn to play golf, to enhance their business careers and, personal relationships as well. And it's I never would have thought we'd still be going, not just strong, but stronger than ever. So it's going to be our best year ever. We just announced our 2015 schedule, and we will have 14 these one-day events, which, as you know, because you've been involved in a few of them, we host around the country. We have added Dallas as a city, so that's exciting for us. And I was listening into Allison on the interview, and she mentioned, the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, and we have picked up KPMG as a premier sponsor for our LPGA series, along with Fidelity and MetLife. It's pretty exciting because, as everyone knows, any great idea or concept needs support. And so to have corporations of that quality supporting the program certainly is very helpful, and then that encourages other companies to come on board too.
Well, I got to tell you that I have been around your clinics for years and helped out, and you have the most amazing team ever. You should be very, and I know you're very, very grateful, but you have a turnkey operation that is absolutely phenomenal. So kudos to you because you've done a great job.
Well, I'm really good at taking the credit for all the hard work my team does. I think, isn't that the definition of leadership?
Yeah.
No, seriously, we constantly receive accolades from all the attendees, the corporations, of how seamless and how organized, just the perfect execution that makes everyone very comfortable. It's not just that it's organized well, that everyone that attends, they leave saying, wow, this was a great day. I made friends. I learned a lot. But we make everyone just have fun during the day as well, and that's an art because the game certainly can be, if you're a novice or never even having played, can certainly be intimidating. So we break down that whole, all of that fear and kind of open up the brain waves to being able to learn and, to become better at something.
Let me ask you, if one of our listeners wanted to sign up to come to a clinic, how would they do that?
Then go to our website, lpgagolfclinics.com.
Okay.
And they can Google LPGA clinics, and it will take them there, and or you can do jbcgolf.com. So one of those, that's one of two ways that you can learn about the clinics. Or you can call our office, and our office number is 617-206-9757, and that's a Boston phone number.
Perfect. Jane, let me just quickly ask you, just to sort of follow up on that. Obviously, there's some great ways to get in touch. What are some of the other feedback that you've gotten from the clinics? Obviously, it's very well run, as Cindy had mentioned, and it's very well organized. But what are some of the other things that you hear back from some of the participants?
Well, I think the most rewarding comment I received is, because during the day we encourage them to go ahead and take the chance, accept an invitation to play golf with a client, or accept an invitation to play either in a Pro-Am or some type of charity event. And I've received, phone calls and notes afterwards. I never thought I would do it, but I did. In fact, there was one woman that sent me a note. She said, we actually had the first all-women's team in a PGA event. It was one part of the FedEx series, and we all played great. And our pro, who was Billy Hurley, made the comment that we're the fastest team he'd ever played with. We're the only team that didn't moan and groan because that's what you taught us. And so they listened to what I had said during the day, and they did it, and it became a big deal. And then it will spawn more opportunities like that for women. And then I constantly hear that my company had an outing, and I actually had to play with my president or my CEO because he wanted a woman in his group, because that's a very prudent thing to do these days. And I was comfortable, and I played well, and now I have a promotion, I have his ear, I have access to the to upper management, And so those kind of, and that's what it is. It's not just about playing golf. It's about the access and the relationship, access to influencers, the relationship development, and just, becoming included in activities rather than excluded.
Right, and that's fantastic, and you're right. There's just so much changing now happening in the industry for the good, and you're certainly spearheading a lot of it, and we appreciate that. And as Cindy has mentioned many times, obviously has a lot of respect and appreciates all the hard work that you do to help keep moving this game forward, especially for women.
Well, it's been fun doing it. When you play the game, and I was fortunate to have a good career, and you win a tournament, and you don't really have anyone that's happy because you've just beat all your friends, so you don't get to share the victory too often. And but when you win in this arena, everyone is happy, and you're really making a difference in people's lives, and the success is very long-lived. So it is a wonderful feeling of satisfaction. I'm not getting back my tournament wins, though.
No, I don't blame you. Jane, what's coming up for next year's LPGA Legends calendar? What's on the calendar for next year for the Legends Tour?
Well, the good news is we just finished a very successful tournament with a Walgreens charity championship down in Delray Beach at Seagate, and
right.
So Walgreens has extended for 2 more years, 2 tournaments a year. So we're kicking it off with the Walgreens Charity Classic in Sun City, West Arizona.
Oh, wow.
So that's it's a nice place to be in March for all of us. I know those of you in the state of New York, and those of us who live in the state of Massachusetts. And but then we have an exciting new tournament, and this is a unique, and it's groundbreaking because we are partnering with the LPGA's Symetra Tour with the kids and the aspiring LPGA players for a team. It's a team, but it's really a combined event. It's called the Chico's Patty Berg Classic over in Fort Myers, and that's in mid-April. And the weekend will feature 2 Symetra Tour players paired with a Legends Tour player. So it's the first of its kind. It's the first joint event, and I think this could be the start of something very special as we collaborate more with both the LPGA Tour and the LPGA's Futures Tour.
What a great event, and a great idea to really sort of bring the two together like that. And that's really what the game is really all about, is reaching out to others and making it more accessible and making it more fun and interesting, not just for those that are viewing and have the pleasure of watching all of you out there playing, but also for those within the industry itself to just sort of mix it up and make it more fun and interesting and create new opportunities within the game.
Oh, exactly. And there'll be a big curiosity factor with this. And I think what you'll find is that the kids, they're teenagers or early 20s, hit the ball a lot farther than certainly Legends Tour players do. But when it comes to the final score, I can tell you what score is going to be lower. So it's a great opportunity for these kids to learn how the game is really played, how the Legends, the great Legends Tour players maneuver the ball around the golf course, their attitude, how they respond to both, success and failure. So it's exciting, and hats off to Chico's. It's also smart on Chico's behalf because it's their demographic tends to be an older audience. So I think it's good for their brand as well.
Let me ask you, Jane, if somebody was interested in helping to sponsor or be involved with the Legends Tour or help us grow the Legends Tour, how would they contact you?
They would call my office, and that is 617-206-9757, and ask for me or our marketing director, Sue Fracker, who's done a fabulous job in helping to grow our tour. But the Legends Tour is really about to take off, Cindy. It's exciting. You've been involved from the beginning, And we have so much interest now from a variety of communities that don't have a golf tournament, are now aware that we have all of the great names in women's golf from, Julie Inkster, Nancy Lopez, Laura Davies, Beth Daniel, Meg Mallon. I could, go on and on. Rosie Jones. And it's like, wow, we could have those players, competing in our city for great value. So I think the word is out, and we're definitely going to get one at some point in Buffalo. Yeah, I know your hometown. I know we've been trying, and Buffalo would just be a great market for a Legends Tour event. So we are going to make that happen. I'm at your side. We're going to grow that. And so the Legends Tour will have more tournaments this year than ever, but our breakthrough year will be 2016. It will be off the charts. So it's our time is now.
Well, let me ask you this: what do you think? Again, I admire you so much, and you're one of my heroes. But I also have that same motivation, passion, and burn. Why do we not give up?
It's just in our DNA. Did you ever give up playing golf?
No.
I never did, and so I think it becomes part of who we are, and I think we're very lucky. It's, some of the other players say, I can't believe you're still, doing this, that you haven't given up. And I went, give up? When you have something that is so good and for all the right reasons, why would you ever give up? And all you need is an occasional, yes, I like that idea, and, the correct thank you note. In fact, I'm meeting today, mentioned, down in Delray Beach. I'm meeting with the owner of Seagate, and he said he had no idea what to expect with the tournament, but he was totally blown away by the large crowds, the reaction of the players, the first-class way the players handled themselves, the way the tournament was set up, and he just, I tournaments, and this is about as classy as it gets. So you hear something like that, and it just fuels you.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Well, again, that's part of our value, I believe, as mentors, entertainers, educators, and performers. I think it's just the total package.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Pro-Am experience, Mia, that's so important in any city, even if it's a Pro-Am, not even part of a tournament, that can be a great fundraiser. But certainly our group of players excel, I think, more than any other group of professionals at making the Pro-Am experience so enjoyable and so rewarding.
And I think the reason is because we appreciate the opportunity to serve.
You're absolutely right, and the players are mature enough that they have personalities. There's so many. Watch what I say here, but so many players in the game today tend to be more robotic. And on a Pro-Am, they might say hello in the first tee and maybe goodbye if you're lucky, but heaven forbid go in and have lunch or, a beverage with someone after the round. That just doesn't happen except for on our tour. And it's just, our players have all won a lot of tournaments, and so there's nothing to prove, and they know they're there to make that experience enjoyable because people in the Pro-Am are the sponsors and the one enabling us to play for some money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. And, you bring up both of you do really bring up a very valid point. It's really about mentoring as well. It's not just about going out and playing this great game, and obviously you both have a lot of fun when you're doing that, and so do the participants. But it's really about giving something back to that next generation. And obviously with this joint venture with the Symetra Tour next year, this is certainly a great way. What do you think is been the impact of what you've been doing so far, Jane, and Cindy as well, for women's golf? What do you think that both the Legends Tour and some of the other aspects that the LPGA has been doing, are you starting to really see in women now, both young and some of the mature women, a sort of a different attitude towards golf than maybe what there was once a few years back?
Well, that's an interesting question. Now, I'll take a stab at answering it.
Thank you,
Cindy, and then I'm going to give you a crack at it. But from my perspective, with the Legends Tour, we're giving certainly these women that play on our tour a chance to kind of, as Pat Bradley says it so well, to continue living our dream. And I see this sense of excitement and confidence which carries over to the general public. And I think combine that with the LPGA clinics, it's where golf is a good thing for women to play. And where in the past women felt excluded, from those activities, and that it was more of a man's world, but now it's okay. And I think they've been given permission and wait a minute, I can do this. And I think that reflects what's happening throughout corporate America. More women in law schools today, more women in medical schools today. We need more women on boards, but more women in senior level positions. So, golf is all part of that. Hey, it's okay. We can. This is not just a guys' game. We're not trying to play a game like the boys. We belong here.
Exactly. Yeah. Cindy, do you want to add in some thoughts as well?
I think that what we're trying to do, the Legends Tour for me has allowed me to have a mulligan. So I'm coming from a totally different place than Pat Bradley, Patty Sheehan, Julie Inkster, Jane Blalock. I never won on tour. Of the best in the world, I was one of the worst. I was good enough to be there. Well, it's true. Go look in the mirror, Cindy. So of the best in the world, I was one of the worst, but I was good enough to be there, and it wasn't what I was supposed to do. So when I turned 45 and saw that there was a place that I could try to prove to myself the dream I had when I was 17 years old wasn't a nightmare, I was all in because I was ready to look in the mirror and become accountable to whether or not I was afraid of winning, afraid of losing. And Jane Blalock and the Legends Tour have given me the opportunity to help fix Cindy and given me a mulligan. And that is probably a bigger deal than allowing Pat, in my opinion, allowing Pat and all these other girls to continue to pursue their dream. It's proven to me that I'm okay. So you have no idea what you've done for me, and I really appreciate it. Now, on the other hand, because I'm a teacher, I have gone out there and tried to learn how not to choke my butt out and try too hard and swing it back too fast, as Bob Foskey would say. But I then come home and I'm very transparent and I help my students because you know what? The intimidation and the fear that I have, they have as well. So when I look them in the eye and say, you know what, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. Let me help you get over that because this is what I just learned, that the fear and the apprehension and the intimidation go away. And when you help them in your clinics, that needless to say, you give them access to leadership. And their personal stock value, when you teach someone how to be able to accept an invitation to play in a charity golf event. I have a woman who's chief of pediatric surgery at Children's Hospital in Buffalo, New York, and she was invited to play in the Kaleida Golf Tournament by the president and CEO of Kaleida Health. She was petrified to accept this invitation. I said, you have to do this. She wrote me back again, thank you so much. I cannot believe this. She wants to sponsor me at the Country Club. This is a big deal for people. So that's what we're doing, Ted. That's what we're changing lives.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And unfortunately, we're running out of time here, ladies, and I would love to continue this conversation. But let me just say this, Jane, you are welcome to come back on the show anytime that your schedule permits, and anytime that you would want to come back, because we appreciate your thoughts and your input into the program, and we most importantly we appreciate, as we've just said, what it is you're doing for the industry, and we're glad that you're having a good time doing it. Lots of great things coming up, obviously, for the new year. And, Jane, we want to have you come back, obviously, in the new year many, many times to come and share along the way. And I've got some thoughts of some things that I would like to do to help with the Legends Tour. We'll talk about that at some point after the program in the next few weeks maybe. But we appreciate, Cindy and I certainly appreciate, Jane, you coming on and sharing your time with us.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I look forward to the new year. Maybe we'll have another success story to share.
Well, that would be fantastic, and we certainly, as I said, we certainly appreciate you coming on and spending this time. And you have a great holiday coming up here, another holiday coming up here in a few weeks. It's hard to believe this year is almost coming to a close, but have a very great holiday, Jane, and much continued success with the Legends Tour and with the golf clinics.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jane.
All right.
Okay,
All
thanks,
right.
Cindy.
Thanks,
All right, bye-bye.
Ted.
All right. All right, just to remind everybody, of course, we just had a great show with two great guests, and don't forget, we will be here every Tuesday, unless otherwise stated, here on blogtalkradio.com. Next week, of course, we're not going to be here, but we will be back for our final show of the year in 2 weeks' time, and you can tune in there at blogtalkradio.com /Women of Golf. But we want to take this opportunity, both Cindy and I, to thank all of the listeners around the world for tuning into the Women of Golf broadcast. We certainly look forward to having you join us here each and every week. And as I said, Cindy, we'll see you here in a couple of weeks. So have a great week, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. God bless.